Imagine watching a high-stakes, multi-million-dollar Hollywood legal battle get completely dismantled by a federal judge, only for both sides to immediately walk outside and tell the public they won. For the past year and a half, the bitter warfare between Blake Lively and Her It Ends With Us co-star and director, Justin Baldoni, has served as a masterclass in aggressive public relations positioning masquerading as a search for justice. It was a conflict born out of a chaotic, deeply fractured movie press tour that rapidly escalated into severe allegations of a toxic workplace, sexual harassment, retaliatory smear campaigns, and eye-watering 9-figure defamation countersuits. But just as the entire infrastructure was gearing up for a highly invasive, explosive civil trial, the gears ground to a halt with a quiet, $0 settlement. Yet, the final structural remnants of this corporate feud were left in the hands of the court, culminating in a definitive 47-page ruling that has permanently rewritten the narrative of who actually walked away victorious from the wreckage. The newest developments unfolding inside a Manhattan federal court have completely pulled back the curtain on the final financial maneuvering of this dispute. U.S. District Judge Louis Lyman officially signed down an order dictating that Justin Baldoni and his production banner, Wayfarer Studios, must cover the standard attorney fees Lively accumulated while defending herself against Baldoni's massive, previously dismissed $400 million defamation lawsuit. The court reasoned that Lively's initial workplace complaints were made without legal malice, thereby making her the prevailing defendant regarding that specific counteraction. However, the true shockwave of the ruling lies in what the judge flatly refused to give her. Lively's legal team aggressively attempted to exploit a relatively new piece of California legislation, Civil Code Section 47.1, commonly known as a framework tied to the Speak Your Truth Act, which was originally designed to protect sexual harassment accusers from being financially crushed by retaliatory defamation suits. Lively wasn't just asking for her lawyers to be paid. She was actively trying to leverage the statute to secure triple damages and heavy punitive penalties, a move that Baldoni's camp claimed amounted to a demand upwards of hundreds of millions of dollars. Judge Lyman completely shut down this strategy, ruling that federal procedures do not sweep nearly broad enough to allow a plaintiff to bypass standard civil trials and collect massive financial windfalls through a basic post-settlement motion. The public reaction to this highly technical legal conclusion has been swift, polarizing, and deeply reflective of how thoroughly audiences have grown exhausted by manufactured celebrity narratives. Across platforms like TikTok, legal commentators and cultural analysts have spent the last 72 hours dissecting the starkly contradictory press releases issued by both camps. Viral clips are circulating matching the cold, hard text of the judge's order against the spin coming from the publicists. On one side, Lively's attorneys released a highly polished statement framing the ruling as a monumental, historic triumph for survivors, asserting that the decision validates her good faith and creates a clear pathway to hold powerful figures accountable for trying to weaponize the legal system to silence critics. Concurrently, a fierce social media debate has ignited because Baldoni's high-profile attorney, Brian Friedman, issued an incredibly blunt counterstrike, publicly pointing out that 10 of Lively's 13 original claims, including her central allegations of direct sexual harassment and defamation, had already been systematically gutted and thrown out by the court months before she chose to settle for $0. The internet is currently locked in a massive ideological divide over whether this represents a genuine vindication for Lively or a highly calculated, failed public relations cleanup attempt. This entire situation escalated to such a volatile degree because it exposes the total breakdown of the modern celebrity playbook when it collides with the unyielding reality of a federal courtroom. For years, major Hollywood stars have relied on a distinct form of cultural immunity, utilizing elite crisis public relations firms to shape public perception through carefully timed leaks, emotional profiles, and vague, high-minded rhetoric about safety in toxic environments. During the initial release of their film, the strategy was clearly to isolate Baldoni in the court of public opinion. But a court of law operates on strict evidentiary burdens, not social media sentiment or brand protection strategies. When the dispute was forced into a structured legal arena, the broad, evocative allegations that thrive in internet commentary threads were subjected to intense judicial scrutiny, resulting in the vast majority of Lively's case being dismissed before a jury could ever see it. The escalation we are witnessing right now is the frantic aftermath of an elite personal brand realizing that a federal judge cannot be swayed by a beautifully manicured Instagram aesthetic or a charismatic late-night talk show appearance. What this bitter conclusion ultimately reveals about our broader influencer and celebrity culture is the dangerous trend of weaponizing deeply serious, systemic social movements as tactical shields for personal and professional disputes. The legislation Lively's team attempted to utilize was built with the explicit intention of protecting vulnerable, everyday individuals who face financial ruin and professional blacklisting for speaking out against institutional abuse. When a hyper-wealthy, globally recognized A-list celebrity attempts to stretch the boundaries of that law to extract massive, multi-million-dollar triple damages after already entering a mutual, non-monetary settlement, it creates a profound sense of cultural cynicism. The online discourse surrounding this case highlights a growing public awareness of how easily progressive language can be co-opted by corporate entities and elite individuals to litigate creative differences, ego clashes, and behind-the-scenes power struggles over film editing rights and production control. This outcome has profoundly complicated the long-term reputational trajectories for both of these individuals, leaving their public standing heavily dependent on which legal narrative an increasingly skeptical public chooses to believe. For Baldoni, the ruling provides a substantial measure of institutional vindication. Despite being ordered to pay a limited set of attorney fees for a single dismissed claim, his team can permanently point to the fact that the vast majority of the severe allegations leveled against his personal character were legally dismissed, allowing him to step back into the industry with his professional viability largely intact. For Lively, the impact is far more precarious. While her team can technically claim the title of the prevailing party regarding the defamation defense, the public exposure of her aggressive, unsuccessful pursuit of massive financial penalties has fueled a persistent narrative of corporate calculation and privilege. She is left navigating a landscape where the shiny, untouchable armor of her public persona has been visibly dented, proving that when the cameras stop rolling, the complex realities of the legal system rarely conform to a flawless Hollywood script. The finality of this 47-page order leaves the entertainment industry staring down a massive, unresolved question regarding the future of creative partnerships at the highest level of cinema. By completely blocking the attempt to turn protective survivor legislation into a mechanism for post-settlement financial warfare, the court has drawn a rigid, unyielding line between genuine civil protection and tactical corporate litigation. This case will undoubtedly serve as a stark, cautionary blueprint for major studios and elite talent agencies moving forward, signaling that the weaponization of public relations campaigns during a film's release can carry catastrophic, irreversible legal consequences once the dispute moves past the court of public opinion. As both actors completely wrap up this chapter and commit to a mutual agreement not to appeal the judge's decision, the true test will no longer take place inside a Manhattan courtroom, but in how the ticket-buying public chooses to respond to their next major creative endeavors when they finally step back into the spotlight.